Hi, everyone. My name is Anthony Cruz III, and I'm the publisher of the Capital Sports Report. I am also the host of the Capital Sports Report Live. Tonight, we are joined by a drag boat and drag racer. But first, I would like to play two videos before I introduce him. Welcome to the show tonight, Kebin Kinsley.
Thank you for having me on.
Kevin, how did you get started in racing for those that do not know?
Well, I started with my family. I always wanted to race motocross, and my my parents wouldn't let me do that because all my buddies were walking around in casts, and just dislocated shoulders and stuff. So we had a hot rod lake boat that we used to run up and down the river and stuff like that. And so I kind of got my taste in it doing that with my dad and my mom, and then started racing brackets with our family drag boat, and then worked my way up. Um, Built my first car when I was 14, and started. We used to have high school races where I lived at, and started with that, and then of course street race and all the rest of that crazy stuff back in the day. But I raced a lot with my family. We progressed through the ranks, and we held a couple records for the class that we ran in, which was called Competition Hydro. It was a carbureted class, and my dad in 1984 sold our race team, and then I started kind of became a hired gun driving for other people after that.
But when you're a hired driver, it's more difficult because you may have a ride one day and then the next time you don't.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works. But I've been pretty fortunate though. I've always been able to find another ride, and then I started racing cars and started a chassis shop in 1984, and then that kind of kept me involved on the car side, and then it also helped me with the drag boat stuff because we built the first enclosed capsule at my shop for the Coors Light boat back in 1987, because in 85 and 86 we'd lost quite a few drivers, and the associations got together and decided we got to do something to help save the sport, especially in top fuel. So that's how we got started with that. And then just my shop's been involved with all kinds of different aspects of drag boat racing, as far as the capsules and hardware, and we make a lot of hardware, and we build drag boat struts where the prop shaft goes through to all kinds of updates to boats and stuff. And we built drag boats from the ground up, and it kind of hits and miss in that. We don't do a lot of that anymore. Mainly just do updates and stuff. And then we mount funny car bodies and do dragsters at my shop here in Arlington, Texas. So we stay involved in both sides of drag boat and drag racing, just because we do so much stuff, different things.
You said you were the first to come up with the capsule for the drag boat, which we kind of see it today. Tony Schumacher launched the capsule for the Top Fuel cars years and years ago, but there was some pushback when he wanted to do it. But now it's like commonplace that a lot of drivers use it. When you were coming up with the capsule for the drag boat, how long was that process? Was there input for others? You said some people had died from drag boat racing, and then that's when you came up with it. Was it like a committee, and then your shop decided to come up with it, or were you tasked with it?
Well, yeah, the SDBA and the IHBA back in the day just say, hey, we got to do something. And so Freddie Bray and Kyle Walker approached me, that I was already good friends with. And Freddie Bray had the Coors Light sponsorship, and they'd already been running an open boat with the Coors Light banner. And then they approached me about doing the fabrication on it. And then Freddie Bray actually owns an engineering company, so he had a bunch of his personal engineers involved in the program. And that was kind of cool, because I've never had worked with engineers before. That was a learning experience, just throwing ideas off of each other. And I was still pretty young back then, but we built a lot of the way the capsule frame was built back then is still used today. I was fortunate enough to be friends with Murph McKinney, and he helped me on the project, and he is also on the SFI committee at the time. And he was a great chassis builder and still a good friend of mine. And so it was cool working with him. And we had a bunch of different input from different people. And then there's some other guys like James Brendel and stuff that took it and actually making it cool looking, And James is the one that actually built the first one for Schumacher and the dragster. And I think it's the way to go. But I like driving it without one either. Of course, I like driving the drag boats without a capsule. So I drove the Coors Light boat. That was part of my pay. I got my license in the Coors Light boat in 1987. So, and that really propelled me into driving a lot of different stuff, because once you have a Top Fuel license, you can drive anything. So that helped me out in a lot of different aspects too, as far as notoriety and the opportunity to get to drive one of these beasts. That's it's come a long way, because on my driver's test run, I ran 210 miles an hour in a quarter mile, and I ran in the Liquid Voodoo boat. We ran 272 miles an hour in 1,000 feet. So that just tells you how much the technology has come around, and you got a different starting system, and so it really, you feel the G-forces a lot more with the way the starting system is today. Because back in the day, we used to have what they call a rolling start, and now you actually leave from a dead stop. And
well, you got the rope. You were holding a rope, and then you went.
But yeah, you hold on to a rope, and you still do that. And then it's got a digital countdown clock, and then and you leave on whatever number you want to leave on, and then you actually get a reaction time and all that. So it's a lot better system than it used to be. The old days, it was more of a judgment call. You actually, the judge and the jury was the starter, and that caused a lot of conflict back in the days. And it was quite the camaraderie of it all, because there was a lot of arguments over that. But the way the system is today, it's a lot fairer system, and you still have a little bit of a running start at the start. It's a 120 foot approach from the rope to where the starting line is, and you can do whatever you want to do between the rope and the starting line, but you can't beat the green light, and you get a red light. But like I said, it still gives you reaction time, and I tell you, it's really incredible with the dual prop Top Fuel boat, because that thing hooks up so hard, and a lot of the car guys don't even realize how much when those props grab a hold, how hard it pulls the motor down. It'll pull the motor down to like 5,000 RPM, which is unheard of in a fuel motor, but that's what they like. They like to be tugged. So that really, and Todd Haas and Tom Conway had figured a lot of stuff out. And that's why that boat was so fast. And they put a lot of fuel in it down low, because when it tugs, you better have the fuel there or it's going to burn it up, So it was a neat ride, Nothing lasts forever. I'm no longer associated with that team, but it was fun, and I got to do it for several years with Todd and Tom Conway, and then I actually drove it for Scott Palmer and Tommy Thompson when they owned it, and then they sold it to another gentleman, and I drove it for him for 3 years. So, it really kind of didn't need me anymore. We fixed the boat. The boat had a bunch of handling issues, and we got worked through that. And they could pretty much put anybody in it now. It goes A to B, and it drives good and straight. And before, if you even noticed in that video, you showed that you can see water splash on the windshield. It was actually digging one of the right spots in, and it'd throw water on the windshield. Well, you couldn't even see where you're going for about a second, and the thing only goes 3.5 seconds. So it's like half of it, you didn't even see where you're going. So that made it interesting. But we fixed that, and the boat drives good now. And so their next driver, he'll be fine and get it. The sad part is, like I said, there's not that many top fuel boats anymore, and it's that deal's struggling a little bit. But hopefully it'll turn it back around and get that drag boat program going again.
Well, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. I want to talk about the capsule still momentarily, and the capsule for the Top Fuel Hydros. Is that the same capsule, almost identical to what we see presently on the Top Fuel Dragster today in the NHRA?
It has a lot of similarities to it, except that the shell in the drag boat is a lot stronger than it is in the car. It's a lot thicker because, you got the dragster tubing to absorb some of the energy, and you don't in the boat. So I designed how the capsules are held in a lot of the boats now, but that has dowels in the front and then has some breakaway brackets in the back. So what you want the boat to absorb a lot of the energy in the crash, and then you want the capsule to break away. So like all the capsule cables, like the parachute cables and the throttle cables, they're all on a breakaway system. And so that all that detaches and the boat capsule gets away from the boat. And that's what you want. But, you're still learning. Unfortunately, every time you crash when you learn something, and that's how you learn. We don't have $1 million budgets where we can throw it out of a helicopter or something to test it. So, but as far as it has a chromoly roll cage in it, real similar to the dragster. It probably has a lot more bars in it than it does in a dragster, just because, you're trying to keep the shell tied to the frame, and trying to keep the lid on it. And the mechanisms, they are way better than what they used to be back in the olden days as far as holding the windshield on. But the problem is that, if that thing takes a side load with that many square inches of a windshield, you have to have something pretty secure to hold the lid on. And when we first built the first one for the Coors Light team, the engineers that were involved with it said there was no way we could do that without building some kind of chromoly structure around it. So that's why it was designed. The original design was done the way it was, and then the new design now looks a lot cooler and more aerodynamic and stuff like that. But we were trying to achieve saving the driver's lives. We weren't making it look cool, but and that's where Jamie came in and he made it look cool, and it's still functional, but they still have trouble with keeping the lid on it sometimes if it hits a certain way. So, you got to give a little to get a little, and that's kind of how that program ended up where it's at today. But yes, it has a lot of similarities to the car. It's just that, you fall down water skiing at 40 miles an hour, and how hard your body hits the water. Well, it's not any different when you're going 270, so you have to really engineer a lot of stuff into this thing. We have a carbon fiber head shield around your head. I mean, we get a lot of the stuff from the cars has gone over to the boat stuff and vice versa, and it's cool to see, for me, to see how that's revolved, and and both worlds are using each other there. It's kind of cool, I thought. So
Before I ask you the next question, I would like to bring up these two comments that are not comments, but two things that I see here that I would like to bring in so you can comment on them.
okay.
So it says you're a great friend of Brian. You see it?
I do not.
Brian Hoffman says that you're a great guy and a great friend.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know Brian. Yeah, he's
And
also
then
a customer. He's a
Danny
customer
White.
too.
Go ahead. You want to comment on Brian?
Yeah, he's actually got they call it a Texas mile car, and we've helped him do some fabrication work and stuff on it. It's a really fast Mustang actually, but yeah, it's kind of cool. I've been really lucky to get to work on all kinds of different stuff between um, some Bonneville salt flat cars that hold world records and to top fuel drag boats to, got to do a lot of cool stuff. I've been doing this stuff since 1984 on my own. I moved to Arlington. It'll be 29 years in August from Houston. So, it's been a good ride and hope to continue to do it. And I really excited about this next year. I don't want to get too far ahead of your questioning here, but I've been really fortunate to hook up with the Ferris family. We got a bunch of cool projects going on with these guys. We got a front engine top fuel car that we put basically a big show motor in. They want to be the first ones to run 300 in a front engine car. We actually got to test it a couple of weeks ago, and we got a few bugs to work out, but you got to go run it to learn it, and that's the same scenario as the rest of this stuff. But we're going to try to hit it out again here real soon and get it dialed in, and then we've got a Nitro Pro Mod 63 Corvette funny car in the same stables at the Ferris family racing. So and then we got the fuel altered in the funny car. So and then I've got my own Nitro funny car that we're getting back together. So a lot of crazy stuff going on, and it's going to be exciting the next couple of years, I think.
The next comment on the feed is by Danny Webb Jr. Said that you're one of the baddest drivers around.
Danny's a good guy. He's a friend of mine through another mutual best friend of mine, Mark Malloy. But yeah, he's from California. He's actually one of my sponsors too. Good people. Yeah. So
with the drag boats and drag racing, there probably is more, but I just know that you were one of them. Sean Reed presently is back in the top fuel ranks. He's one of them. He raced a boat like you, and now he's in the top fuel dragster like you.
Yeah, there's quite a few actually. Of course, Eddie Hill comes to mind, and Jack Ostrander. He raced top fuel drag boats and ran top fuel dragsters for years. And Billy Vance, a really close personal friend of mine. He ran nitro funny cars and drove top fuel hydros back in the 80s and 90s. And so yeah, there's quite a few people that have done it. It's probably more spread out, so you don't notice it as much. I mean, there's not too many of us knuckleheads out there that like to do both, but I love it, man. I could do them both every day. I really enjoy driving top fuel. Anything with nitro in it, I like driving it, And I love the alcohol stuff too. It's I still drive an alcohol hydro for a gentleman out in California, Rick Keys. I'm trying to help him get his program lined out, and then he's going to start driving it again soon. And so anyway, that's kind of what we do. We kind of help people fix their programs and get them going, and then move on to the next gig, But yeah, that's there's a few people that have done it and had good success, and I'm really proud of Sean Reed, man. He's a good guy, and he's got a great team, and to come out of the box running well like they have, it's pretty astonishing. I mean, that's a big feat right there, And another one comes to mind too is Tim Morgan, who always had super clean top fuel hydros, and then he went top fuel dragster racing, and he struggled with it at first. He crashed a car, but he actually went to I think he went to the finals of Pomona. And but anyway, he's always had beautiful cars and beautiful boats. I mean, like, they're show quality stuff, and always admired him and enjoyed looking at all the detail. And I feel like a lot of that I've tried to put into my own projects. I try to pay a lot of attention to detail and make cool stuff, because I don't do any advertising. Our work pretty much speaks for itself, and I just like making cool stuff and make it go fast.
Gilly Abregon.
Yeah, Gilly's one of my crew guys. He's been with me a long time. He was with me when I won my first alcohol funny car race. He's been on my crew forever and one of my best friends. And he actually works with me on the War Wagon team. He worked with me on the Liquid Voodoo team. But yeah, it's I got a lot of great friends, man. And you know what? No one guy does this. That's what I love about drag racing. It's a team sport. I mean, and I've said this in the past. It's from the guy flipping the hamburgers and feeding us to the person changing the oil or torquing the rods or building the clutch packs or, putting the propellers on. I mean, everything is so important and everything has to be done. Well, like an NHRA, it's got to be done 4 times right, and like an Indy when we runnered up a few years ago, it was that was an amazing day. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm going to talk about that later.
Okay, but just to put all that together and make it happen, and it's really cool that I've been blessed enough to get to do it with my buddies and some of my best friends, and that's memories you're never gonna lose. I mean, that's just stuff you cherish the rest of your life, and it's been pretty awesome. It's crazy because I've had people come up to me and goes, "Man, I was watching you on TV at Indy, and we were jumping up and down, and neighbors are coming over, their windows were open, and they go, man, everything all right over here?" It's like, oh, we're rooting for my buddy Kevin. He's going to the finals at Indy, which is the biggest race of his life, So it's really cool to get to do some really cool stuff,
Before we begin, you mentioned that there's only 1 or 2 Top Fuel Hydro boats in existence right now. And you did the Liquid Voodoo Top Fuel Hydro boat for a while. Could you talk about competing with that boat and then why there's not many boats around in that class anymore?
Well, like I said before, we had a great run. It was really cool to get to work with Todd Haas and Tom Conway and Mark Malore and all the guys and Danny Day and all the people that got to help us. We had a really cool gel program there, and man, the year before last, it didn't seem like we could do any wrong. We struggled last year. We finished a bunch of runner-ups, and we won the championship the year before last. We runner-up last year, but everything goes in a cycle. But the boat was the boat has some history. So the boat was an original Bullet Hydro that Jim and Brian Dunn had built, and I actually crashed that boat that you saw in the video. I crashed it at Augusta, Georgia, with another guy, Hoot Gibson, that owned it. I went to the bottom of the river. You can see it on YouTube, but it was pretty hairy. At the race before that, we'd had some issues with it. It was splashing the windshield really hard, and at that time, a lot of the guys were doing that in Top Fuel, and they drive through it. Well, I was lifting. So in between the 2 weeks from San Angelo to Augusta, Georgia, where I crashed, I said, man, you just need to keep your foot in it and you'll be fine, And so I did that and ended up going to the bottom of the lake, and it was 25 feet down, stuck upside down in the mud. And the current was so bad there, it actually pulled itself out, and then it landed on the guide wires that held the starting barge up. And so I got stuck in the guide wires for a while, and they finally got me out. And anyway, we ended up fixing the boat and come back later, and we the next race, and we got some stuff worked out. We ended up going to San Diego the next race, and we ran really well and qualified number 3 and ran the quickest the boat had ever been. But that's just the mentality of all this to do this. Is it's easy to quit, but you and I've had so many people, why don't you just quit? And I was like, man, I don't want to quit. I mean, let's fix it. That's what I do. We fix things and we make it better and make it go faster. And that's what we did. And then we got the boat lined out. And then that particular boat went through a couple different hands, and they redid some stuff on the boat, and it got out of whack again. And that's when Todd Haas had taken the reins over for Tommy Thompson and Scott Palmer. And the gentleman who was driving it before that was having problems running over a lot of stuff like the buoys, and they were glassing the boat up almost every race. And he just asked me, can you come help me? He can't tell me what the boat's doing. Can you come drive this thing at one race and help me and get it lined out? I said, sure. So we went to the next race, and we figured out what was wrong, and it started hauling ass again. So it is, they asked me to stay on, and so I ended up staying on, I don't know, for another year with Tommy, and then another guy bought it, and I drove it for him for a couple of years, and that's kind of where we're at today. So like I said, it's been a cool ride, but it's time to move on.
This weekend there is a boat race, the Marble Falls Lake Fest. Will you be competing in it?
No, I'm not going this year. I was there last year and the year before, but there's also another race in Wheatland, Missouri. They're going to run a bunch of alcohol boats there and stuff. But yeah, they got two conflicting races that weekend. Plus, it's my birthday this weekend, so
happy birthday to you!
Well, thank you. Made it another around the sun, so that was cool. But we're going to work on my funny car this weekend, and my buddies are coming over, and we're going to
have a party.
That's it.
You have competed in the Southern Drag Boat Association. For those that do not know, could you talk about that organization?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's been around, I think it's on its 51st year. I think it was 50 years last year. So back in the day when I raced with my family, my mom was actually involved with it. She was secretary and she was points chairman, and which helped our team out because they actually gave us a hotel room and paid our fuel. So that helped a lot when we were traveling, because back then we had 15 races, and we were going one week and we're in Oklahoma City, the next weekend we're in Tulsa, and we lived in Houston. So I mean, we went to North Carolina and Phoenix, Arizona, and there was a lot of races back in the day. And it's sad. It's kind of slowed down. I think they've only got 5 SDBA races this year, and they used to have 15 or 16 back in the day. So, but yeah, the SDBA has been around for a long time, and my ex-wife was actually involved in it for a while, and my crew chief David Kirkland was president for a while, and it's like everything; it just goes in cycles, And I mean, I wish the best for it. I mean, I poured my heart and soul into drag boat racing, and I want to see it make it, And like I said, I've been doing it since I was 14. I still love doing it. I love the people involved. It's like one big happy family. I've had issues over the years, from crashing to being on fire, and these people always came to help me out, help me put my boat or my car back together. And it's a pretty awesome family. The racing community, and it doesn't matter if it's car or boats. I mean, they're both have great people in it, and that's why it's survived as long as it has, I'm sure. I mean, but it's like I say, with the drag boat stuff, I hope they get this thing turned around and get it back going again. But and the bad part is, it's like everything today. I mean, you can't even go get a hamburger and a fry and a Coke for under $20. Well, I mean, oil's gone up, gaskets gone up, pistons have gone up, rods, nitro, everything's high. And I mean, the money's not really there to get.
You can't pay for it.
Right. And you don't get it from the winnings. I mean, it doesn't really pay much to win. So you got to have sponsorship. The way the economy is right now, it's tough to get a sponsor. I mean, I've struggled with it with my own program, and you get a hit in the arm here once in a while, and you're like, all right, we could do this, and it's, you get this and you really need that, so it's like, it's just, you never have enough, and it's just like in my program, it all goes into the team. I mean, it's not like I'm benefiting with a luxury house and all that. I don't have any of that. So I just, it's just, like I said, everything's expensive, and racing's very expensive. That's what they say. You want to be a millionaire in racing, you need to start off with 5, because at the end you won't hardly have that. So it's just expensive. But you know what? I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I love it. I've been accused of being an adrenaline junkie for a long time, and I think I'm worse now than I've ever been. And that's why I'm blessed to be hooked up with the Ferris, because they're as bad as I am, if not worse, because they're spending their money, and I just get to ride their hot rod. But it's great to get to do it, and I'm very lucky I got to have done it in the Top Fuel boat that was successful, and I'm enjoying the success with some of that other racing aspects, like Dexter Tuttle to, Roger Hennon with the road rage car. I mean, it's just, I've said this before, man. You surround yourself with good people, you get good results, and that's what I've been lucky at and blessed with. So
Next, I would like to go into the drag racing portion of it. But I would like to ask you this because it's a huge topic. I don't know if you watch these guys. Some people don't really give a crap about these guys, to be honest. But there is this huge problem, not huge, but huge thing that has come up recently in the past two races with the Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings, and guessing on the line. And I don't know if you heard about that or seen any posts about that, but what's your thoughts on, because you see it all the time with drag racing, people guessing, trying to get a head start on someone else and make sure that they're not going red.
I have never understood that. I've always been raised and been pounded in my head that you need to leave first. I mean, that's their problem, not mine. I'm there to cut a light and do my job, keep my car in the lane, go A to B. That's what I'm there for. So as far as how they're doing it, I'm sure they have some kind of agenda for that. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't understand why they do that. I've questioned it myself. I'm not a huge follower of it. I have watched it, and I love all kinds of racing. I love Indy cars. I love my best friend's got a dirt car. I like watching him run the dirt cars. AJ Foyt's been a hero of mine. Tom Sneva, Johnny Rutherford, all them guys. I mean, so I like all kinds of racing, but drag racing is all about leaving first. And that's what I miss about running NHRA Top Fuel, because those guys are the elite, the best of the best. The Antron Browns and Sean Langdon and Doug Coletta and all them guys are badasses, and when you get to line up against them, Clay Milliken and all them, I mean, I get amped up, man. I can't wait, and I do better as an underdog, which I've always been an underdog, but I thrive on that. I love that part of it, and then because they're expecting you to get beat. So if you do beat them, and it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's pretty spectacular for me, and our team, and that's what I miss about the NHRA stuff, because it's the bad of the bad. I mean, from the driver to the crew chief to the car setup, all that, it has to be on the money. So as far as the Street Outlaw stuff, I'm not really keen on how they get mad about someone leaving on them. And if they guess, they guess. As long as they turn the red on, they're red. So I mean, you're out. But I don't understand that concept, and never have been able to take that in and really understand it. So,
Because here's some backstory. John Odom jumped on Justin Swanstrom at Flying H Drag Strip, the new drag strip in Missouri, last weekend, Memorial Day weekend, when they had a race there. And then Jim Howe jumped on Jerry Bird. Then Jerry Bird this weekend jumped on Jim Howe. It's craziness. And then they make all these videos on them wanting to fight each other. It's just like, hey, let's get some popularity out of this.
I mean, I'm sure they're doing it for the show, but I don't
There's
really.
no show anymore. They got canceled from the Discovery Channel.
Yeah, like I said, I don't understand that part of it. So, I mean, to me, it's shut up, line your stuff up, let's get it on and race. That's what I'm about. That's how I was raised. That's why I wasn't very good at street racing, because I'm not into the running my mouth. My hot rod speaks for itself. And if I do my job, I got a shot at winning most of the cars that I'm in, because I'm in good stuff. And it's taken a long time to work up to get to that. And And I feel like I don't want to let my team down, so I got to cut a light every time I get in that. So their deal's a different deal, and like I said, I don't really understand that scenario of it all. But I just do what I know how to do, and that's, an HRA drag racer, or even on the drag boat. I mean, I try to cut good lights in the drag boat. That's what they hire you for. That's what you're supposed to be there for. So I don't understand their concept. I'm sure there's something behind it. I just never have asked. And one of my best friends is Brandon Pez, and he tunes a bunch of those guys' cars, and never thought to even ask him about it. Him or Cole, his son. So I mean, they're big time into that. They build a lot of the motors for those guys, and they got a really successful motor program that's just down the road from here in Weatherford, Texas. So, but anyway,
we have a new comment from Mark Mellor.
Malor, yeah.
Mellor.
Yeah.
It's a part of the family, and glad my kids know your family. Best shoe in the business. I don't know what that means, and belongs in the Hall of Fame. So I just brought it up on the screen.
Well, that's nice of him to say that. I don't know. Powers that be have never allowed me to do the Hall of Fame thing, but that's fine. When it's due, it's due. If it happens, it happens. But Mark's one of my close best friends, and his family is like blood to me. So I was down there helping them last week, and Houston's had so much rain. My brother and I went over and helped them cut trees down and trying to help them get their power came back on. But when the tree fell over, it ripped all the plumbing out, so we had to find the broken line and get all that fixed. So they got water again. Then a storm hit again today, and they lost power again. So I'm sure they're watching with a fan in front of the computer screen right now. But anyway, I'm very blessed they're in my life, and it makes my life better with them there.
For some backstory, that those that do not know, so it was almost a decade, 9 years ago, we first met each other in 2015 at Old Bridge Township Raceway Park. You were doing the Night Rails in July 2015. You were a part of the Hennon Motorsports. I interviewed you. You had a famous sponsor on your car called Gas Monkey Garage. And Richard Rollins and Dennis Collins were at the event. You faced Dom Lagana before his incident a few years ago. So this was 2015 when he was doing a Nitro Ninja, Top Fuel Dragster. Could you talk about that night? What you remember from that night racing here in New Jersey?
I tell you, we had a ball. I mean, the whole activity was cool. We got to experience the drifting on the track just east of there, all in the same complex, and we got to hang out with a bunch of really nice people. They took us in with wide open arms, and it was a cool deal. But that's when the Gas Monkey deal was just getting going, for us, and we'd already done several races, and the magnitude of Richard Rollins and the impact he left on a lot of people was pretty amazing. I had never been around anything like that. I mean, it was crazy. Like, there would be people 10 or 15 people deep all the way around the trailer. I mean, it was crazy. And he was signing autographs. I was catching the backflow of the autographs. I guess I was signing my name. I was getting cramps in my hand. But I mean, it was a really cool experience. Richard Rollins gets a bad rap with a lot of people, but he was super nice to me and our team, and we had a lot of fun with him, and Aaron Kaufman and Charles and all the guys there. We had a good time, and we went to Vegas too, and it was a neat experience. But it's like everything; it takes its course, and we moved on. And the experience was. We got shot in the limelight, which was a double-edged sword. I mean, it's amazing the comments on Facebook and stuff like, "Why are you with that guy? He's a nobody." To, man, glad to see you guys got a good sponsor. I mean, a lot of positive and negative, and you don't think about that till you get to that position, and you're like, wow, people can be cruel, and people can be super nice. It's a double-edged sword, so you got to be careful what you wish for. So, but hanging out with them guys was a lot of fun, and got to do a couple TV shows with them, which we hadn't done before. You know, it was a cool experience. And got to meet you and a lot of neat people in that area. I've never been in that part of the country before, so it was really cool to me. The closest I'd ever been was High Point, North Carolina. You know, I used to race drag boats there every year, and we got to go down on the boardwalk and walk around and stuff. It was a cool deal and a lot of fun. But you know, you got to understand too that, you know, Gas Monkey's there to film a show. We're there to race, and sometimes that kind of bang together. You know, I mean, we're tripping over cables and we're trying to put a clutch in the car and put new cylinder heads on it, and you know, and they're trying to film a show and you're tripping over the cameras, and you know, that was kind of hard to get used to, but it was cool. It all worked out. You know, it was all fine, and you know, but we're trying to get a foothold in something that's so competitive, and then you got all these other distractions, but hey, we worked through it. It was cool, you know, got to do it, and it was a neat experience.
Do you think that experience when you were on the Fast and Loud show may help like somebody today who, if there was a sponsor on a TV show that said, "Hey, I want to work with you," maybe that could come into drag racing, and maybe they look at what happened with you guys before and could help them today?
Oh, I'm sure it could. I hope it does. I mean, any kind of positive spin on drag racing is good. It doesn't matter if it's cars or boats. I mean, the more exposure you get, the better off you are. Just like, for example, that girl, the Super Blondie, she has a car show, you know, where she demonstrates a bunch of different cars. Well, she did a segment on our drag boat on, you know, 10,000 horsepower drag boat, and our Facebook page blew up, you know, but it was good, positive exposure. And that's what we need for both of these sports is positive exposure. And yeah, I'd love to see that for somebody else to go through that same experience and to get some more exposure and draw in more attention to our sport.
Why do you think that was short-lived with Gas Monkey Garage as a sponsor in the NHRA? It's a lot of money, as we both know, to race one of these cars. It's about $25,000 a pass to sponsor one of these cars, and millions of dollars for a full season.
Well, you know, I mean, that's pretty much all of it. It costs so much money, and Roger, he didn't want to go that much. He wanted to go when he wanted to go, you know, and they were trying to film shows, and you know, there was so much backstabbing going on and all that. It's such a cutthroat deal, you know, and you got people trying to steal your sponsors, and it got to the point where Roger says, you know, I've had enough. I want to go do it when I want to go do it. And that's Roger kind of just bowed out, you know, and which made it a little bit tougher on me. Would try to go find some money to go run the car more, you know, and I had some success. I had a lot of my friends that kicked in some money, like Johnny Mancuso and some friends that, you know, because again, Roger didn't want to go run that much, so it was easier to go find a little bit of money to go to a couple races than it was to go to run 24 races. Because I mean, that's just stupid money. And on top of that, you know, Roger didn't want to be a full-time team, you know, because I mean that means you gotta have full-time employees. Well, we were all doing it for free, except for the crew chief and a couple fly-in guys. They all got paid. We never got paid. We were doing it for the love of the sport and the opportunity to go do it. And again, on Roger Henne's team, 80% of the team was all of our buddies getting a chance to go do this, you know. And Roger spent the money in the right places. We got hooked up with Coletta, and we were Coletta test car, you know, and they got us hooked up originally with Bodie Smith, and he got us launched and got us going. And then we stepped up and got Donnie Bender next, and he kind of took the whole car apart, and he put the whole car back together, made everything exactly the same, and he taught us a lot. And then, man, boom, next thing you know, the car's running good. And we go to Topeka, and we run Antron First Brown, and we run our first 70, and he run a 69, and it was a close drag race, you know. And then every race that year up to Indy, we were running good. And then, you know, it's kind of the cycle it went, you know. But again, you Roger didn't want to be a full-time pro team and have to pay everybody. And it just a whole lot more dynamics to do it full-time, and you got to really want to do that. And that's where you got to figure out, is it a business or is it fun? And it's hard to have both, and that's, like I said, I was blessed. I got to do it with such a great group of guys, and no one can take those memories from you. And I really want to go do it again someday. And I just hopefully pray and I get to go do it again. But I've got a couple things in the works to maybe drive something at the end of the year. We'll see if it all pans out, But my heart's
So that
really.
was actually my next question. Do you have you had a chance, or have you had an offer to race in Top Fuel since the Hennon Motorsports team folded?
Yeah, I've got to do a couple times with Dexter Tuttle. I got to fill in for Corey McClendon when he got sick, and then I drove the year before that for Dexter also. Corey had come in with some money, and then he had got sick at the race before at the Funny Car Chaos, and then I got the phone call on Wednesday to get to go drive for him. So, but yeah, I've got to go drive something again this year to keep my license going. So I'm working on a couple of deals right now to maybe drive something towards the end of the year. We'll see how it all plans out. But it's just so expensive. It takes so much money to go do this, and so I'm trying to work on some money deals right now to put it together to go make a race or two.
In September 2017, you were competing in the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals at Lucas Oil Raceway Park in, well, they call it Indianapolis, Indiana. People who've been there know it's not in Indianapolis. It's in Brownsburg, Indiana. And that final round, you made it all the way to the final round. You faced a fellow Texan and Steve Torrance in the final round. Steve went 3.757 at 322.96 miles an hour. You unfortunately hazed the tires, and only went 48.47 at your ET was 10.820. What was that like, that magical day where you went to the final round of the U.S. Nationals, the most prestigious race on the NHRA calendar?
It was an amazing day. It was one of those, when I woke up Tuesday morning, I said, somebody pinched me. Did this really just happen? And I've said this before. I when I was a kid watching on Wide World of Sports, I said, I'm going to do that someday, Dad, and I was only probably 10 years old, but to be there and actually get to do it, and hang out with all your heroes, and it was just a magical day. Unfortunately, in the finals, we had a blower pulley bolt sheared right when I hit the gas. It didn't even turn the tire, and it sheared all the bolts of the blower off. So it didn't go very far. So we ran our career best time, ran a 375 at 325 miles an hour, and Donnie was doing an amazing job tuning the car, and my crew was doing a great job turning it around. And it was just one of those days. Like I said, everybody did their job and it clicked, and I was doing a decent job driving, and it was so cool to get to do it. Your buddies like Roland Leon was there, and Linda Vaughn was coming up and giving me a hug and congratulating me in just qualifying. You feel like you won the race just qualifying at Indy, and then get to go to the finals was just amazing day, and it's there's so many great memories. I wish I could tell you them all, but I had some of my friends in the area that were there. They got to experience it with us. It was just it was cool, and the car was hauling ass, man. It was so fun to drive, and yeah, it was a drive. It was trying to wash that on me on the big end. The back end was swinging around, and you were having to drive it, and it was making it even more fun, and it was ripping my head off all the way down. And that track can be tricky, and Donnie Bender's one of the best out there. I think he's kind of underrated myself, but he's good at that stuff. He's good at reading the track, and that day we all shined together, and it was a team effort. and Roger gave us the parts to do it. And we had some crazy stuff happen, like the air let out of the trailer on the way up there in Oklahoma City. We pulled over, and all the cylinder heads were laying down on the floor I did the cylinder heads, and they were all beat up, and the studs were hitting each other, and oh my God, it was horrible. And we got there early enough. We fixed everything and got our inventory built back up, and we ended up going to the finals and ran a career best time. So, it makes you earn it, and there's no gimmies in this deal. I mean, yeah, you get some breaks along the way. Everybody gets a break somewhere, but our car ran exceptionally well that weekend, and to run a career best times and in that weather there, and it was just an amazing weekend, and we built up going to that. Like, we ran good at Topeka, we ran good at Bristol. Like I said, we only went to a handful of races, but man, every time we went, this thing was screaming down the racetrack, and we weren't really hurting a lot, and then we went to Ennis later in the year, and we kind of struggled, and we kind of struggled the next year, and then Roger was kind of done by then. I mean, it's just so expensive, like we've said before, but he gave us the right parts, and we got us hooked up with Coletta, and that was really cool experience to be under the Coletta banner with Jimmo and all the gang over there. Was super nice to us, and we ended up buying one of Doug's car, his backup car, and so they knew the car already, so they knew what knobs to turn, and we were trying to help them win a championship too, So I mean, so it was an all-around great experience, and I wouldn't trade it for nothing.
Did that day with all the magical happening for you going to the final round, did that like change your life in any way? Because to have that additional spotlight for a small team could be huge.
I was in the car, but it was pretty amazing. All my guys and Roger, the owner, come up to you and goes, "Kev, you cannot believe, we thought the bleachers were coming down every round you won. Everybody was pulling for the little guy, and it was really cool. And even coming back, driving the car back or whatever, the crowd was hooping and hollering. It still makes my hair stand up on my arm. But I mean, like I said, it's something I dreamed about since I was a little kid. And I mean, I've always wanted to go to Indy. I wasn't even able to go with my own alcohol funny car just because it was so expensive. It's such a long race, and we got to go with the Gas Monkey car, and we didn't qualify. And then we go with the road rage car and make the show and go to the finals. So it's like, wow. Like I said, I woke up Tuesday morning. I said, pinch me, man, did this just happen? And then my buddy Chris Graves, that owns the Funny Car Chaos, him and Tara sent me a text Tuesday morning. He goes, "Kevin, I think you officially broke Facebook." And Facebook just blew up, and everybody was sharing it. So yeah, that part of it really wowed me. I mean, it was cool to have everybody pull for the little guy, and I'm glad we could hold our own up. I was disappointed in the finals, but that's the other problem with a small team, is that you got to rotate these parts out. Even the flywheel bolts, the blower bolts. I mean, all this stuff has to rotate out, and head studs and all that. I mean, Nitro will find the weakest link, and it always does. And we'd already done that blower deal once before. We'd sheared the bolts off at another race, and we just needed to change that cycle pattern. But man, you got to understand something. I don't know if you ever watch these guys restrip these blowers, but I mean, that's an art form in its own. I mean, if you watch these guys do it and they do it right, I mean, and these things, they got like 1.5 thou to 1 thou at the bottom of it with a feeler gauge. I mean, they're on the money, and they make make heat and they make boost, so they got to be right and on the money. And when it's that hard to turn over, you got to cycle those parts out more, and that's like the gears inside the blower to whatever, all that stuff, you got to rotate it. So, and that's the other, like we said before, the expense of running one of these things is just astronomical, and you can't buy enough parts for them.
Yes, I would like to bring in two comments that we have here. I know from earlier you said you can't see them, so I'm gonna bring them onto the screen for people who can. So Andrew Nokes, Nokes.
Yeah.
You're a good friend for most of my life. Very proud to still have you a part of my life.
And Joe, his dad and my dad worked together for Texaco. We've been best friends since second grade. So yeah, and he actually worked for the NHRA Safety Safari in Division 4. Him and his buddy pulled me out of a burning fire out of my funny car up in Noble, Oklahoma one time. And yeah, it was bad. I burnt my car to the ground, basically lost everything. And,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was ugly. And then we ended up, we saved the chassis, but everything else was junk pretty much. And we rebuilt it and then got it running the next year. And then the following year is when we started winning again. And we won the Houston National event. We won the divisional at Dallas. Then we went to Topeka and didn't qualify. Then we went to Dallas national event. We won that. And then we went to Noble, Oklahoma again, and we won that. So went to 5 races and won 4 that year. So, but yeah, Andy saved my life. You know, him and his buddy did. And it was one of those deals that just you don't realize it's that bad till it's too late. I mean, my buddy Jim Epler called me. He goes, "Kev, why didn't you just run that thing into the wall?" I said, you know, he's Mr. 300, you know, and he's used to having plenty of parts in the trailer. I said, man, I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to dust this thing off, put another bullet in. I'm going the next round. You know, I made the show, blah, blah, blah. And by the time I realized it was that bad, it was too late. I mean, I pulled the fire bottles, but what happened was the blower came up too high and it jerked the fuel shutoff hoses off the fuel shutoff, and it was pumping 21 gallons of fuel on. I don't care how many fireballs you got, it's not going to put it out. And it got so intense. It got so hot, you could hang a wrench from the chassis. It was magnetized the chassis.
Wow.
It was crazy. And that burnt my suit, and had to do a couple breathing treatments. My tongue looked like a chow dog for a couple of days. It was black. But I never smoked cigarettes, but my lungs probably would tell a different story from all the fires I've been in over the years. But you know, that's part of the gig. You hope to keep it to a minimum. You learn from your mistakes, and we put longer fuel lines on it now, so yeah, that to prevent that from happening again. So
Another comment is from Joe Ferris. He says, not only a hero, he's also a movie star. So what's your movie you're in?
oh, shit. I don't know what movie he's talking about, but I'm on TV.
Maybe he'll leave a comment here.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah. I would say something funny, but it stirred up too much. So, but no, it's all good. But nah, just again, getting to be involved with the Ferris family, it is a family, you know, and they've taken me and my crew in like we're family. And man, we've got to do some cool stuff. We got some really cool stuff coming up. We got a match race coming up, and the 5th and 6th. We're match racing 4 fuel altars. And then we're going to Michigan on the first weekend in August. And we're going to try to attempt to break the world record again in the quarter mile with the fuel altar is the goal. We're going to run an 8th mile on Friday night at Martin, Michigan. And then on Saturday night, we're going to try to run quarter mile and break our record that we have right now at 304.56, I think is the number. So we're going to try to up that a little higher, where it maybe be a little harder for someone to beat. So, and then we're actually going to go to Florida at the end of the year and run the funny car. So yeah, we got some cool stuff coming up. We're going to go to Mocan. I think we're going to try to take the dragster to Mocan. Hopefully we're going to go run it somewhere one more time, make sure we get all the bugs worked out. And I'm really excited about the Pro Mod car. I'm really ready to go. We ran it. We tested it at Ennis at the Funny Car Chaos, and we got it going straight finally. And it's been a handful. But it's already ran at 362 at 217, setting off at 500 feet because it blew oil all over the windshield. I couldn't see where I was going. But it's going to be a strong running car here shortly. But, you know, it's like anything. You got to go run it to learn it, you know, and we're learning how to, you know, mess with air pressure and stagger it and make it go straight. But it's a handful to drive. It's the craziest thing I've ever driven, to be honest with you, because it feels like it's trying to blow up from the inside out. The doors are going in and out. The French windshield's going in and out. I mean, it's the weirdest dynamics. But man, what a blast to drive! And now we got a front engine fuel car that we're testing, and I'm really excited to do that. That was a whole different feeling I've never done before, along with the Pro Mod car. But sitting behind that rear end, and when it hikes the front wheels up, you can't see nothing but injector hat. So, and that doesn't bother me, not being able to see, because I'm good at, you know, just judging by peripheral. But the hardest thing for me to get used to so far, and I've only got to make one pass in the thing, or two attempts anyway. But it's like turning off the end of the track. You can't see the front, and I don't want to hit something. I mean, it's just hard to judge it when you can't see the front wheels, even when you're just cruising down the track. So it's just one of those deals that I got to get used to doing it. And Shane and Howard are making some changes to it now, where we hopefully all see a little bit better. We're going to put a different style injector on it, and if I can just see the tips of the tires where I can navigate where I'm not going to hit something, that's the main thing. I just don't want to hurt the car. It's a beautiful car. Chuck Beard used to own it. Sean Bowen built it, and it's a piece of artwork. I mean, Sean's a buddy of mine, him and his brother, and Scott built it. Sean's his brother that drives his dragster. But I mean, Scott's an amazing fabricator. This car is beautiful, and then Chuck painted it himself, and it looks like a showpiece. It's candy red and yellows, and it's a really cool looking car. So I'm excited to get to go do that some more. And I think we're a ways down the road from trying to do the 300 deal. Yeah, we're just going to try to run some Nitro Chaos with it. It's actually 600 pounds lighter than the altered, so it should pick up quite a bit just from the weight change. So, but again, we're going to go test with it a little bit, get it figured out, and go play with the guys.
Andrew made another comment here. As long as it's good and not anything, he says, tell the Cadillac story. I said, as long as it's not good, as long as it's good and not got anything bad in the story.
He doesn't usually like me telling that story. Yeah, we were being knuckleheads coming home from the drag boat races at Liberty, Texas one time, and he so I went to go use a porta potty, and he was in his dad's Cadillac. So, and it was like a '69 Cadillac. It's one of these long stretch deals. And anyway, he pinned me into the bathroom where I couldn't get out. So I said, all right, you made a huge mistake here. I will get you later. So anyway, we're going home later, and a bunch of us, and I jacked with him. I just jerked the steering wheel a little bit, and he overcorrected. Next thing I know, this thing's swapping from lane to lane, and this big old long Cadillac does a 180, and we're facing the other way. And yeah, he usually doesn't like me telling that story, because I think my arm was black and blue where he's beating on me all the way home. I don't even know if his mom and dad knew about that one or not. But yeah, that was a pretty crazy night. But yeah, that's the Cadillac story in the nice version.
Okay. You talked about this Pro Mod. Is it eventually going to be, you said, the Fuel Chaos, is that potentially going to run in the NHRA Pro Mod class one day, or you don't want to take it there? You want to take it some other places?
I don't think NHRA will ever make it a class, but IHRA is talking about it. I've had a few discussions with Larry Jeffers and Scott Palmer's trying to put a program together, so that we've kind of been on a holding pattern with it. But, we can run the Outlaw Pro Mod stuff, like at the Extreme track here, the Galen Smith.
Extreme Raceway Park in Ferris, Texas?
I'm sorry?
Extreme Raceway Park in Ferris, Texas?
Yes, sir. And that's where we run it at. And we run it at NS ones too, at the Stampede Speed deal. But yeah, we've been taken to the Outlaw Pro Mod deal there at Ferris, and that's where we ran the 363 at, running with Bubba Stanton and all them guys, and Frankie Taylor and all them. And Frankie's been a close friend of mine forever. I mean, he used to run out of our shop in Houston, and I've known him forever. And I think he was more excited about us doing it than we were. But we need to bring some positive note to this sport, and this is just another avenue. I know we've pissed off a bunch of the alcohol pro mod guys, but we're not there to do that. We're just trying to go have some fun. And it's an outlaw pro mod. So that means outlaw. You can do whatever you want. And that's why we're running with that. Hopefully there's going to be a program here in the near future that we'll be able to race some other outlaw pro mods and on nitro. So Palmer's been working on it. A few other people are. There's probably like 5 or 6 of them in the country right now. And so we can get a couple more. And there's a couple other guys building them. So hopefully we'll get at least 10 cars together. Maybe we could travel around and do some stuff and be like the old school funny car match race stuff. I mean, that would be fun. And give another shot in the arm in a different direction for this sport,
At XRP, it's called XRP for those that do not know. I believe he did or still does. That owner of that track, if he's still the owner, Clyde Scott, didn't he race him for mine?
Yeah, he's a badass pro mod racer too, and he likes to get on Facebook and talk a lot of smack, but it just keeps everybody revved up. I think it's funny, but and I'm kind of the opposite. I don't run my mouth. I just keep my mouth shut. I'll let Shane and the other crew guys do that. So, but no, Clyde's got a really fast car, and he runs well, and he's done an amazing job at that track. That track, we still hold the record. We hold the mile an hour, and I think the ET record there in our fuel altar. We ran 231 miles an hour there, I believe. And so we got the track record with that. But and our motor in our Pro Mod car is similar. It's not quite the same in the altar to the Pro Mod, but it's pretty close. Fuel pump's a little bit smaller, a few other things. But that car's got some potential, man. I mean, if we can keep it where we can drive it down the racetrack, it's going to haul ass. And they know it. So, but, you still got to do it, and you got to do it 4 rounds. And it's a lot of work. But Shane and my guys, Mark and all of them, they do a great job swapping that clutch out. I mean, that thing is so freaking hot when you come back. It's crazy. But, they got a system where they got one on the bottom and one on the top, and they change the clutch pack out in between runs. And they're doing a great job. And then they're still servicing the bottom end and getting all the stuff you got to get done and get that thing prepared and turn back around to go another round.
I have a few more questions. You race a fuel altered outside the funny car and the drag boats when you have a time in the pro mod. For those that may not see a fuel altered, could you describe a fuel altered? Because it's a little different than a regular car they may see. Like here in the East Coast, I don't believe we have them here. Maybe we do, but not in the Northeast. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple different renderings of them, and the guys on the West Coast kind of don't like us because we're not the old school style. So basically, our car is basically a 125-inch wheelbase funny car chassis. It's a McKinney car that we mounted a T-bucket body on it basically, and it's got a big front wing on it, and it's got a big top fuel dragster wing on the back. And it's been a balancing act figuring all that out, getting the balance right, where the thing will drive right and stuff. And Shane and Howard got a really good handle on that. And the car's a dream to drive. I mean, it really does. Unless we got some jacked up tires on the back that wants to shake the tires or something, that car normally goes A to B every time. And so yeah, it's basically like a late model style funny car, except this thing doesn't. So we've got a Cannon on the car, but we don't use it. We run that whole clutch system on primaries, and we don't have a setback blower on it like Timmy did when we raced him at Ennis a couple of years ago when he got the ET and the mile an hour record. Then we were able to get the mile an hour record back from him, and we still hold the 8th mile record too. So yeah, it's just so the old school way is basically the same body. They got 110 to 100 inch wheelbase, and that's kind of how they run them out on the West Coast. They don't run big wings on the back and that kind of stuff, and it's more old school out there. They run that 6-second class out there, and Ron Capps drives one, and I mean they're a handful to drive even at 6 seconds, in the quarter. So they put on a great show. I wouldn't take nothing away from them guys, but I like the big wings, and I want this thing to go as fast as it'll go. And you got to have wings on it to make it do that. I don't want to cross the center line or hit something. I want to go A to B and go fast, and that's what I'm about, you know. And you still drive it, but those other cars are a lot harder to drive probably than what I'm doing. Depending on what track you're at too. Like Mocan, I almost hit the wall last year. I mean, it gets your attention, man. I mean, you gotta have everything right, and the track's got to be prepped right to take that kind of power, because this thing makes a lot of steam.
So I'm gonna bring in a comment from Scott Sturgeon. He says War Wagon. He also mentioned your name. I guess he's a part of your team with that.
Yeah, he's the leader of the band. He's a great singer. Um, we have a big 4th of July party he'll come sing at the Ferris's house, and he's actually come to my shop. I have a New Year's Eve day party here at my shop, and he comes and sings at my parties sometimes. And so yeah, he's a neat guy and very talented person, great singer. And he's recently got a fuel altered, and now he's changing over to a Funny Car Chaos car. So looking forward to seeing him back out there racing with us.
So I have 2 questions left. You mentioned the Funny Car Chaos. That's my next question. So Funny Car Chaos has been around for the past few years. They have done the Funny Car Chaos. Now they're doing the Fuel Chaos sometimes.
Nitro Chaos.
Nitro Chaos for a few events as well. Could you talk about racing the War Wagon at these events?
Yeah. So the Funny Car Chaos deal, it's really a great opportunity to go run alcohol or run nitro. I mean, it's a great venue. The way Chris has it set up, it's got a big equalizer there. I mean, the alcohol cars usually have a better advantage than the Funny Car Chaos stuff. So, because they can cut, O lights, but I mean, you cut a 050 light in a nitro car, you're doing something. I mean, it's hard, because just the way the clutch is, I call it button racing, but like Kyle Smith and guys like that, they're badass at it. I mean, they can cut 010 lights and they haul ass too. They run 60s and 50s or whatever, so they can do really well. That's the equalizer. So a nitro car up against the alcohol car, that's where it makes it more of a level playing field. But then Chris came up with the idea to have this nitro chaos where you can have a front engine dragster or a fuel altered or a nitro funny car. It's run what you brung, So and they take the top 8 and you go. And I like it, and I guess maybe because I'm a scaredy cat of the Kyle Smiths and stuff out there that can spank me on the tree. So it gives me a place to go and be more competitive with what I got. But I love the funny car deal. And Shane and Howard, they don't like the funny car as much as I do, but they still like it. But I mean, their cup of tea is the fuel altered, and it's easier to work on because you're not jacking with the body, and the altered body it pivots up. You can put a clutch in it. And the funny car body's a lot heavier to mess with, but it's just cool. When they set that body down on a nitro motor and that thing's sitting there thumping, you're going, that's why I get out of bed in the morning, man. I love that stuff. I mean, it's just so cool. But the altered is too. Anything with nitro in is badass. I don't care what it is, if it's a boat or a car, or front engine dragster or a pro mod car. It's a big thrill to get to go do that, and I love it. I can do it every day.
I'd like to bring in a comment first, and then I'll ask the last question. And now we got 2 of them, actually. So Jeff Horn says, enjoyed racing Top Fuel with you. Thanks for the great times. And then Angelica Jelly James said, best driver ever. Now we got another comment saying, Fred Spell Jr. says, you're a good sandwich maker.
This won't be good. Fred Spell's the Joker.
Yeah. He said you're a good sandwich maker.
Yeah. I knew. Actually, he's been really nice. That's pretty clean cut for him normally.
Oh, okay.
But so, Jeff Horn is. Well, we actually went to school together, and he was on our road rage team. And unfortunately, him and Randy Randolph weren't able to make it to Indy because that's when the hurricane came through, and they got stranded in Houston. So we were short 2 of our major crew guys when we runnered up at Indy that year.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so it sucked that they weren't there, but they were there in spirit, and that meant a lot too, you know. But yeah, it's crazy how life is sometimes, man. It just kind of how it worked out. I mean, that storm was really horrible. My brother got hit really bad, and he basically lost everything. They had to rebuild their whole house, and I actually went down the following weekend after Indy to help him clean up, and the devastation down that those people went through was horrible. But you know, they bounced back. My brother's a home builder. He built a beautiful house for him and his family, and put a pool in. And they, you know, they've redone a lot of the area down there where it doesn't flood as easy. They actually had a levee broke and flooded their house. But anyway, that's my Jeff Horn story. But yeah, he used to go street racing with me back in the day, and we used to go to a place there in Houston called Rankin Road, and yeah, it's a lot of good memories. I've been surrounded by a lot of great people, like I said, and then yeah, I could talk drag racing until it makes your ears bleed, buddy. So you might have to probably cut me off when you're ready.
Well, I got one question left. So, for those that do not know, you are a multi-time top alcohol funny car winner. You are also a multi-time championship driver, both on the land and the sea. 16 times, right? 16 times
In drag boats, yeah.
in drag boats. Um, so, for those that do not know, could you talk about winning those championships and also finally leading into this season? Because you hinted at maybe coming back out, maybe in drag racing to keep your license. So, what is your goal for the rest of this season? We still got months before the NHRA season will end if you do come out again.
Yeah. My goal is to keep turning win lights on. That's my goal, you know. And like I said, I hope the NHRA deal will, you know, come to true. I really love doing that, just because of the competition. But you know, the chaos deal, it's a hard gig too. I mean, it's the grassroots people that really where this sport started from, you know, and they're doing it from the heart. They're not doing it with the money, you know, and that's I really enjoy doing the nitro chaos and the funny car chaos stuff, and it's funny how the match racing goes in waves. I mean, we didn't do much match racing in a couple of years, and now we got several of them going. So I mean, that's cool, and I'm really, like I said, I'm hoping the pro mod deal is going to take off, and we'll be able to do that some more. And so that's kind of a nutshell. Like I said, I got a few boat things we're working on, and no more Top Fuel boat stuff for a while probably, but I got some alcohol stuff I'm helping on, and hopefully get his program going and help him out, and then just like I said, finish up with some NHRA stuff at the end of the year, and then I'm hoping to start and finish my Nitro Funny Car license at the end of the year in Florida when we run the War Wagon down there. So I'm hoping to be able to get enough runs in to make that happen. You got to make 3 passes within, you know, you got one moderate, 2 full passes. So we ought to be able to pull that off, hopefully down there, and that way I'll have my AA Fuel Funny Car license too, because I don't have it. I've got everything else but that. I got a Fuel Dragster, I got alcohol funny car, I got Pro Mod, I've got Top Fuel Dragster. And so yeah, I'm just missing. I got a nostalgia funny car, and I'm just missing my Top Fuel one.
Well, that was going to be my last question, but I want you to answer this one because it seems like you're doing everything. So I'm going to bring this onto the screen. I know you can't see it because you're on your phone. So this is from David Zoller, and it says, Nitro Harley coming for you soon?
You know, one of my best friends, Johnny Mancuso, owns Mancuso Harley Davidson. When I lived in Houston, I helped him build a dual nitro Harley motor drag bike that he had raced for several years before he went back to a single engine, and he actually won that. He's the first one to win the IHRA Nitro Harley Championship, and he asked me a couple times about driving it, and I riding it, and I was going to do it, but I was racing boats so much at the time, and our schedules conflicted too much, and I never got to do it. But my good buddy Ricky House does that too, and from Houston, and I'm happy where I'm at with a roll cage around me. Probably back in my 20s or my 30s, I'd probably have done it, but now I think I'm happy being strapped around a roll cage, and my body English at my age is probably not good enough to ride in one of those, but I sure like watching Spider-Man. I'm so impressed with that man. And
Larry McBride. That's Larry McBride.
Yeah, anybody rides a motorcycle fast, I'm impressed with. But Spider-Man, man, he's one of my heroes, man. That guy, he has got it going on, and I really enjoy watching him on the videos and stuff. I've never got to see him live. I was actually at the World Finals last year with the drag boat when Shane and Howard went down to Florida, and Joe Haas drove the funny car for me because I was busy doing the boat deal. But Spider-Man was down there. My buddy Gilly brought me back a signed handout card and stuff, and I always admired that guy, and it was really cool to get to. I wish I could have gone there to see him run his bike down there, and hopefully he'll be down there this year. I heard he will be, so maybe I'll get to see him run it and meet him.
David said, "Can you get Buddy Hall and John Hale to sign off on your funny car license?"
I'm sorry. What did he say?
David said, "Can you get Buddy Hall, who's now with the Jim Dunn Racing Nitro funny car team, and John Hall, which has the Texas barbecue? He's a Texas barbecue driver, right? He drives the funny car. That's his sponsorship. To sign off on your funny car license."
There's going to be plenty of people down there in Florida. I'll probably get it signed off down there. I don't think they won't be down there for that. So, yeah, them guys are too busy to be hanging out with me. John's been real busy playing with his airplanes and stuff, and he's still doing some funny car chaos stuff. I get to see him there some. Buddy's full time on the NHRA circuit, so he's been doing real well. I've been proud of him. He's doing a good job in Dunn's car. People don't realize how hard those things are to drive. I mean, everybody's a good driver from the bleachers, till you strap in one of those monsters, man. It's a whole different program. And but I've always told people you got to have it in here, man. You gotta really want to go do this because it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time to go do it, And just like Sean Reed, man, I'm very proud of him, what he's done, and what a short time he's done it in, and he's in contention, man. I mean, they got that car running consistent, and again, like I said, people don't realize how much time and effort and money goes into doing this. Just doing your homework at home, getting all the car prep, clutch packs built, the heads done, piston racks put together, and then, all the travel time and coming back and getting the car prepped for the next race, and just like they left from Epping and they're going straight to Tennessee this weekend, man. I mean, you really don't have any downtime. They service that car on Sunday, so when they get there on Wednesday, they pull it back out and finish it up and get ready to hit it again. I mean, it's a tough, grueling gig. So
yes,
and I'd love to go do it full time. I'd love to go do it full time. I don't know if that'll ever happen.
Well, you need millions and millions of dollars to do that.
Yep. You're not going to do that in the chassis business here in Arlington, Texas. I can promise you that. You need a little more.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you tonight. So I will. I'll do my ending, and then I'll thank you for your time. So for everybody watching on Facebook Live or YouTube Live right now, this podcast will be uploaded onto Rumble, BitChute, Humex, and Spotify for podcasters in the next few days. Once it's on Spotify for podcasters, it'll be on the leading podcaster sites, so like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. You can listen to there as well. Thank you for your time tonight, Kebin Kinsley, and good luck on the rest of your season.
Thanks, bud. It was great being on the show.